guess it starts, so I've got 4 children and working 9 to 5 and all of that. You can see your kids on the weekends and evenings, and it's not enough. So that's part of it. My youngest has special needs, so could do with a bit more time and attention. And at the moment, my wife's been doing that, and the other kids are missing out a little bit as a result. So I kind of feel needed at home. But yeah, prior to this, I worked at the university, and we had a mortgage and a big house. Never seemed to have much spare cash, and an awful lot of debt. So part of this is getting away from that. Yeah, why work 9 to 5 to, go on holiday once a year and feel the freedom then? Why not live like that? Is it possible? So that's what we're trying to do.
So when you say what you're trying to do, what is it that you're trying to do?
Somehow become self-sufficient or close to it. Because I think a lot of people try, and it's not easy to get all the way. So we've bought some land after a bit of a fight with planning permission. We finally got planning permission to build a house in the barn there that's behind us. So everything you see here is just temporary. So we're setting ourselves up to be comfortable while we build. So then we've sold the house, cleared the mortgage, and got a little bit left over with which to build with. We're off-grid, so generating our own power for electricity, for heat, for cooking. At the moment we've got mains water, but we've got a big enough roof space here that we can collect rainwater. So soon we'll set up a filter system so that we're off-grid there. So there's no bills. You can't, as far as I can work out, I don't think you can live without money though, because you still need to buy stuff. Even if it's just a few clothes, you still need to pay council tax and all of that. So we'll have to generate an income from the land as well. We've got sheep, and we were keeping pigs through the summer as well, and so that's providing some of our food, and also we're selling that. We're looking into different things that we can grow to try and make some money out of the land. One idea is hemp, because we can build with hemp. We can make hempcrete, and we can use that to build the house, which is very good insulation, very carbon neutral, because it will be grown on site. But it's also something we might be able to make a business from, whether it's selling hempcrete or other hemp products, from paper to oil to milk to, there's no end of things. So don't know if that'll happen, but we're looking into that. So yeah, all of these are ways of, we need the land to provide a small income, because at the end of this year my job ends and then I'm full-time here. So that makes sense, at least for the build. While we build the house, why work to pay your entire salary to a builder when you could build it yourself? But it also meets what I need, which is to be here and seeing my kids growing up and that kind of thing.
So will you still have a mortgage?
No, we'll be mortgage free. We're not completely debt free, but we're not far off it. So
it's a question, there is obviously a question that this, as much as you can, you're trying to meet your needs, but not everyone will have the resources or be in the position that you're in.
Yeah.
But for those people who do, is there a sort of income range or an initial outlaying cost that would make this feasible? Is there any?
Well, the price of land varies around the country. Here in the southwest, it's around 12,000 an acre at the moment. So you've got to find the money to buy some land, but maybe you can rent it. There are people that do that. The current system, the planning system, is really, it feels like it's stacked against anyone trying to do what we're doing here. If you want to get planning permission to build on agricultural land, up until about a year ago, you had to put together masses and masses of documents detailing a business plan and just a huge amount of stuff to prove that you had a business or a business idea that required you to be on the land, so it can't be an existing business that you manage from off the land. And it would have to meet, that business would have to generate what the planning people consider a basic income, which is something like £15,000 or £16,000 per adult. So generating that from a farm is nigh on impossible on a small scale. It's got to be a much bigger farm. So they will pull that business plan to pieces, and your odds of getting through are pretty slim.
So it's stacked against larger operators or people who can invest more money in more land and to run it more industrially.
Yeah, that's what it's set up. It's biased towards favouring that kind of application. Then the last government brought in a new planning route to convert disused agricultural buildings, which, as far as I can tell, is a way for landowners to convert the odd barn, turn it into a house and sell it off separately from the land and make a load of money. That seems to be what it's aimed at, but we saw it coming. We bought land that was appropriate. We got rejected, as pretty much everyone does first time round, but we persevered and eventually we got it. So we have a barn, not much of a barn, it's telegraph poles and corrugated metal, but technically it's a barn and has good access. There's no traffic issues here, there's no noise issues with neighbours, so it ticked all the boxes, and eventually we got it through. But not without a fight. Yeah, so in a way it's a big risk. You buy some land not knowing whether or not you're going to get planning permission.
Because at the time you bought the land, you were still paying the mortgage on the house, and then
yeah. Until we got that planning permission, we've been paying the mortgage, and we actually remortgaged the house to get all the funds out of it to buy the land in the first place. So we had a horrendous mortgage for the last year. But it was a means to an end. So now we've moved here. We sell the house and then pay all the mortgage off.
So what would you say to someone who was potentially a bit risk averse?
Well,
are you risk averse?
Am I risk averse? I don't. Well, apparently not.
I suppose a better question would be, to what degree you calculate a risk.
Yeah.
So it's a question of not whether it's the degree of which a risk is there.
Yeah.
And I suppose you always have to take that into account.
There's always going to be a risk, and I think there's a lot of people wanting to live off the land that dive in without doing their research, and invariably they end up evicted or anything they build knocked down, and it can ruin someone potentially. So yes, you will have to take a risk if you're going to do something like this, but do it knowing what you're getting into. Do your research.
So what would be your advice in terms of research? Where to go? What would be the most important?
If you're thinking about becoming self-sufficient, start at home. Start wherever you are right now. If you want to learn about solar power, build your own panel, or buy a panel and make a little system with one car battery or something like that that'll run the TV in your home, so that you know what you're doing, and while you're not dependent on it. if you want to, you know, start looking at land even before you're ready to actually buy it, so that when the time comes that you are ready, you've got a good idea of what's out there, what's available, and what prices things actually sell for at the end of the day, because a lot of land goes by auction. If you want planning permission, then yeah, read everything you can. If you look online, you'll find lots of information about. Well, I strongly recommend the Class MB because it worked for me. So it seems it is possible with that.
What's that, the class?
Class MB. So that's this conversion of a disused agricultural building, and it doesn't require a business plan. It doesn't require much at all, actually. It's permitted development. You have to get a certificate of legal development from the planning office, who will fob you off and tell you that it's no good for one reason or another, but persevere. And if you have to, go to appeal once you've been rejected.
Did you go to appeal?
We'd been rejected. We started putting an appeal together. That's the kids. We started putting an appeal together. We got in touch with Chapter 7, who advise on eco-type builds and planning. We were doing a lot of work, and then the government issued a clarification on Class MB, because a lot of people were getting rejected on the grounds that they weren't deemed sustainable, which is complete newspeak. So sustainable to the planning office means, are you within an existing settlement boundary, and that settlement must contain a supermarket and a school. So sustainable is how far you are from a school and a supermarket, which is ludicrous. But legally, that's what it means for the planning people. And the government clarified that agricultural buildings would not normally be inside an existing settlement boundary. Therefore, this Class MB route is exempt from sustainability issues. And sustainability was the main issue they brought up, the reason they rejected this. So we were going to appeal. We got back in touch with the planning office and we said, we're going to win this appeal because of the new guidance that the government's given. Shall we save everyone a lot of time and effort and resubmit the original application? And they said yes. So we did, and we got approved. So we got it, which was, momentous. I know people that have been fighting for planning permission for 6, 7, 8 years. And that's really tough. Just going that, anything that you do, knowing that if you get an enforcement and you don't get the planning, that you'll have to remove it or it'll be knocked down or whatever. You can't, you're living on a wish at that point.
You've got to play by the rules.
Well, a lot of people don't play by the rules. If you build a permanent dwelling and reside in it for 4 years without any complaint, then you can get retrospective planning, and it's 10 years if it's a temporary building or a caravan. It appears at the moment that the government are really cracking down on that. And as much as you might know lots of people who think this is a fantastic idea, you can bet one of your neighbours doesn't like what you're doing and will complain. We got a complaint here. And as soon as there's a complaint, the planning people are onto you. You've got to, you can hide away, maybe if you have a forest or something, but if you've got kids and if you've got, if you're using a wood burner, you're making smoke, people are going to know that you're there, and that, be prepared for it all to get taken away if you don't play by the rules. Which is a shame, because it really feels like the rules are stacked against. It feels like the rules are stacked against you leaving the system of 9 to 5 work and becoming a debt slave and all the rest of it.
Do you think it's designed that way then? Or do you think that's just a consequence?
I don't know. I suspect that... God, is it designed that way? I think some of it is, and some of it's just happened that way. If that's not a real answer, is it? There's a lot of... I know someone who was trying to buy some land. They spoke to planning beforehand. Planning said it would never happen. They bought the land anyway. Planning said, no, 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 never, never, never. It's not going to happen. And eventually they gave up and they sold the land. 2 months later, Barratt Homes had planning permission to put a housing estate on it. That stinks. So it happens. Is it systemic corruption or just... I can't answer that. You know, there are cases of corruption out there, and there's this system... There's probably not enough land in the country for everyone to do this anyway. And to be honest, not everyone wants to do this. The majority of people don't. But I think there's a sizable number of people out there who dream of living off the land and being sustainable and being off-grid, and you know, the system doesn't make it easy. Perhaps somebody said to me with planning that once they realise you're going to be persistent, that you're not going to go away, and you're just going to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming, eventually they'll let you have it. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But...
Okay, brilliant.